You are not here by accident, and that very truth is already the first sign that something greater is moving in your life. Not because you were curious, not because of an algorithm, and not because of a spare moment. There was a quiet pull, very gentle yet very real, that led you to this exact moment. And if you listen deeply enough, you will realize this. Your soul knew this already, long ago. Lately, you have felt an inner pressure that is hard to name, not the kind of pressure that comes from panic, but a stretching from within, as if something is growing too fast, beyond familiar boundaries. The things that once made you feel safe now make you feel confined. The places you once called home now feel like temporary shelter. You are not wrong. You are not lost. You are expanding. You have begun to realize that you no longer fit into the old rhythm of life, not because that rhythm was bad, but because you have changed. Your thinking has shifted. Your spiritual sensitivity has deepened, and the questions you ask are no longer the questions of yesterday. You are no longer satisfied with merely existing, merely going in circles, merely getting things done. There is an inner calling urging you to live with meaning, to live aligned with what was placed within you from the very beginning. And what confuses you the most is this: you cannot point to the exact moment when you changed. It did not arrive with thunder or a major event. It came slowly, in silence, through the moments you chose silence instead of justification, through the times you continued in obedience even when no one was watching, through the nights you wondered whether you were going too far from what felt familiar. Yet it was in those moments that you were being shaped. There are days when you feel sad without knowing why, not because of any clear loss, but a vague sorrow, as if you are grieving an old version of yourself. You no longer belong to that person, yet you still remember them. You remember the simplicity, the days when you did not have to carry so much inner responsibility as you do now. And yet, your soul knows clearly, going back is not possible. You have gone too far to pretend that you never changed. You have seen too much to close your eyes and live as before, and so tension appears. Not because you are on the wrong path, but because you are on the right path. And that path requires you to grow. Certain spaces have begun to react to you. Conversations no longer reach you. Relationships fall out of rhythm. Patterns of thinking that once worked well now leave you feeling empty. You wonder whether you are becoming more difficult, more distant, or even more arrogant. But deep within, you know a different truth. Your soul is no longer being nourished there. You are entering a season where growth is no longer comfortable. When you were young, growing up was natural. But when you mature spiritually, growing means letting go. Letting go of what once fit. Letting go of what once felt familiar. Letting go even of the things that once saved you in an earlier season, but can no longer hold who you are becoming. And within this context, an ancient truth echoes more like a confirmation than an explanation. Psalm 139:16 says, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." This means the tension you are feeling is not an accident. It was seen before you ever asked your first question. This change did not come to break you, but to lead you to where you truly belong. You are not off the plan. You are moving deeper into it. And when a person draws closer to their true identity, everything that does not belong will begin to shake. Not to punish, but to release. Not to frighten you, but to awaken you. There is a part of you that has always known you were not created to spend your entire life in narrow spaces. You were not born merely to exist just enough, to shrink yourself so you would fit in. Something within you was designed to carry weight, to bear responsibility, to influence. And when that begins to rise, the old walls will no longer be high enough, nor wide enough. You may not yet see the road ahead clearly, but you are beginning to see very clearly that the road behind you is no longer an option. And that is the sign of a true shift. Not loud, not rushed, but irreversible. Right now, what matters most is not that you understand everything that is happening, but that you are honest with what you are feeling. Because this feeling is not your enemy. It is a signal, an invitation, a door opening from within. And when a soul begins to hear that calling, nothing can hold them back forever. Not because they are unfaithful to the past, but because they are faithful to what was placed within them from the very beginning. The change within you did not arrive like a collision, but like an underground current quietly softening every old foundation. You still wake up each day, still walk familiar roads, still speak with familiar faces, yet something no longer fits. Not because the outer world has changed, but because the inner world within you has shifted. And when the inside moves, the outside cannot remain still. You begin to realize that the things which once sustained you now only hold you in place. The environments that were once shelter have become limitations, not because they are bad, but because their assignment has been completed. There are spaces created to protect you when you were weak, but they were never meant to contain you when you became strong. And your soul knows this, even while your mind continues to argue. There are days when you feel as though you are standing between two worlds. On one side is what you have known, where people recognize who you are and expect you to remain in the same old role. On the other side is a vague sense of a place you have never stepped into, yet it feels strangely familiar. You cannot yet name it, but you can feel it. A place where you do not need to explain yourself too much. A place where you do not have to make yourself smaller to be accepted. That very tension creates pressure, not the pressure of failure, but the pressure of growth, like a seed cracking open. It does not hurt because it is being destroyed, but because it is breaking free from the shell that once protected it. If the seed clings to its old shell, it will never reach the light. And if you keep holding on to old spaces simply because they are familiar, you too will never reach the full version of who you are meant to be. You may have wondered why you feel more tired lately, more sensitive, more easily overwhelmed. Not because you are becoming weaker, but because you are carrying more. Your awareness is deeper, your spiritual responsibility is heavier, and the questions you ask are no longer shallow. You cannot pretend that everything is fine when you clearly know something needs to change. There are conversations you begin to avoid, not because you look down on anyone, but because your soul no longer has the energy for meaningless cycles. There are relationships that feel more distant, not because love is missing, but because the rhythm no longer matches. And this makes you sad, because you do not want to be the one who leaves others behind. But the truth is, you are not leaving anyone. You are simply continuing forward. Deep down, you begin to understand that some places in your life were only ever meant to be temporary. They are stops along the way, not destinations. They teach you what you need to learn, shape you in the ways required, and then gently push you onward. And when you try to stay too long, discomfort appears as a warning signal, not to hurt you, but to remind you that it is time to move on. There is a hard truth to accept. Not everything that once saved you is meant to walk with you forever. There are habits that helped you survive a difficult season, but if you carry them into a new season, they become burdens. There are roles you once had to carry because no one else could, but now, if you continue to hold them, you will limit yourself. And within all of this, a whisper rises like a confirmation for your confusion. Psalm 66:10 says, "For you tested us, O God. You refined us as silver is refined." Silver does not lose its value when refined. It only has what is no longer needed removed. The pressure you are under is not meant to break you, but to reveal the true self that was forged in silence. You are not abandoned in this season. On the contrary, you are being watched very closely. There are seasons when God protects you through provision, and there are seasons when He protects you by allowing the old place to no longer have enough water, not because He is withholding, but because He knows that if you remain comfortable, you will not move. You may feel guilty when the desire to leave familiar things rises within you. You wonder if you are ungrateful, if you are selfish. But that desire does not come from arrogance. It comes from obedience. A soul that has been called higher will always feel restless when it tries to live lower than what it was created to carry. And if you are honest with yourself, you will see that the safety you are holding on to is no longer truly safe. It is only familiar. It is only predictable. But familiarity is not always where you belong. Sometimes, familiarity is the very thing that holds you back the longest. You are in a season where growth requires you to trust more than to understand. You do not yet have the full map. You only have the inner pull and the small signs repeating within you. But like every true spiritual journey, the first step rarely comes with clarity. It comes with courage. And even if you have not yet stepped forward, the fact that you can feel what no longer fits is already proof that you are changing. You are no longer the old version of yourself. You were no longer created for narrow spaces, and that truth will keep knocking on your heart until you are ready to open it. The pull within you is no longer a vague feeling, but has become a steady heartbeat, quiet yet persistent. It does not shout, it does not force, but it also does not disappear. You may try to stay busy to forget it, try to rationalize it, to delay it, but whenever you slow down, it is there again, like a reminder that something is waiting for you ahead, and pretending not to hear it only makes your heart feel heavier. You begin to realize that this is not a passing dissatisfaction. It does not come and go with emotion. It stays. It follows you into your quietest moments, when there is no one left to distract you, when you are no longer playing any role, and in those moments, you know clearly this is not a desire to escape, but a calling to step into. You are no longer searching for a better place just to breathe easier. You are searching for alignment, a place where the person inside you does not have to fight to exist. A space where you do not need to explain why you think deeper, feel more, or see further. You have spent so long adjusting yourself to fit others that you have forgotten what it feels like to stand upright in your own identity. There is a very specific kind of exhaustion you carry, not from doing too much, but from constantly holding back. Holding back your inner voice, holding back your spiritual sensitivity, holding back the vision you have not dared to name because it feels too big for the room you are standing in. And the more you suppress it, the more you feel like you are breathing thin air. It is at this point that a truth slowly reveals itself. The shift you are facing is not about changing scenery, but about changing position in the spiritual order. You are not only being called out of an old place, but placed into the right one, so what was planted within you can grow. Not every soil is suitable for every seed, and a seed not sprouting is not always the fault of the seed. Psalm 25:14 says very clearly, "The Lord confides in those who fear Him. He makes His covenant known to them. There are things not explained to the crowd. They are whispered only to those willing to walk by faith rather than certainty." You do not need to understand the entire route to be called obedient. You only need to be faithful to the next step set before you. You may have tried to force doors open in old places, tried to prove your value, tried to make others see what you carry, but the more you tried, the more exhausted you became. And now, you are beginning to understand something very different. The place prepared for you will not require you to strain to be accepted. It will respond naturally to your presence, not because it is easy, but because it is right. This alignment carries a very specific kind of peace. Not peace because everything is clear, But peace, even when things are not yet clear. You may not know where you are going, but you know very clearly where you no longer belong. And that one-sided clarity is already enough to keep you from returning to how you once lived. If right now there is a quiet confirmation in your heart, as if each word touches a place you have long kept hidden, you do not need to do anything dramatic. Simply acknowledge to yourself that you are hearing the call. Many others have stood in this same place, and they left a small mark, a simple confirmation, as a way of saying they no longer want to be deaf to the inner voice, not to show anyone else, but to remember the moment for themselves. And if you feel drawn to stay longer with this journey, not out of curiosity, but because it reflects your own inner life, then allowing yourself to keep listening is also an act of obedience. Some things unfold layer by layer, and only for those patient enough not to walk away before there is a conclusion. You are entering a phase where the life within you needs new space to breathe, not because you are above others, but because you have been entrusted with a different weight. And when the weight changes, the position must change as well. Otherwise, you will continue to feel out of sync, even if everything on the outside still looks fine. Understand this clearly. You were not called to live in a constant state of self-doubt. You were not created to spend your life wondering if you are too much. What you carry is not a burden, it is a gift. And a gift only becomes a burden when it is placed in the wrong place. This shift does not come to make you stand out above others, but to place you more accurately with yourself. When you are in the right position, you do not need to compare, compete, or defend. You simply need to be present. And that presence alone is enough to create impact. You may not be ready to step forward today, but the fact that you can no longer turn your back on this calling is already a step forward. You are very close to a greater truth about yourself. And when the time comes, you will realize that all the vague feelings before were simply the way your soul prepared you for a deeper alignment. You do not need to rush, but you also no longer need to doubt, because what is calling you does not come from lack, but from purpose, and purpose always finds its way to those who are willing to listen. There is something you are slowly beginning to understand, even though no one ever said it directly to you. The place you are about to step into was not created after you prayed for it, but was prepared long before that, before you even knew you needed to leave, before you had the words to name the uneasiness in your heart. That land already existed, not as a location on a map, but as a spiritual space reserved for the right person at the right time. You once thought that the doors that closed in your past were failures. You asked yourself what you lacked, where you were wrong, why you kept getting close only to be stopped. But when you look back through a new light, you begin to see a different picture. Not every closed door is a rejection. Some doors close simply to protect you from taking root in the wrong place. Not every soil can carry the same kind of seed. Some ground is good for survival, but not deep enough for long-term growth. You can live there, even do well, but you will never truly flourish. And God did not create you just to survive. He created you to multiply, to influence, to bring life to what surrounds you. So the years you felt delayed were not delays at all. They were timing. You were not held back because you were not good enough, but because the ground was not yet ready. And just as you were being refined in silence, that land was also being prepared in silence. There were places you entered with your whole heart, yet still had to leave in confusion. You carried faithfulness, patience, even sacrifice, but you could not find your footing. That does not speak to your worth. It only reveals the truth that the seed and the soil were not compatible. You did not fail because you did not grow. You were simply in the wrong kind of ground. As this truth settles into your heart, you stop blaming yourself the way you used to. You stop trying to fix yourself to fit spaces that were never designed for you. You stop asking permission to be who you are. And at the same time, a new peace begins to rise. Not because everything is clear, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. There is a scripture that describes very clearly the place you are moving toward. Deuteronomy 11:12 speaks of a land that the eyes of the Lord watch over from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. This is not a place where you must struggle to survive, but a place of continual care, not a land of lack, but a land of timely provision. You will recognize this land not because it is impressive, but because your soul exhales when it arrives. There, you do not need to explain why you think differently, believe differently, or move more slowly than others. The air there matches the rhythm of your heart. What was once seen as too much in old places is now seen as necessary. What is interesting is that as you draw closer to this land, old questions begin to lose their weight. You are no longer haunted by why you were not chosen elsewhere. You no longer need validation from spaces that have already closed, because deep within, you know you were not rejected. You were being redirected. There are lessons you can only learn when a door closes completely. If it stays half open, you will always look back. If there is still a crack, you will always wonder if you can return. But when it closes fully, you are forced to face forward. And in that moment, you begin to see what has been waiting for you all along. This land is not a reward for how well you endured. It is not compensation for what you lost. It is the natural continuation of the journey you have walked. What you learned in seasons of dryness will help you steward seasons of abundance. What you endured in silence will help you stand firm when you are no longer hidden. You also begin to understand that leaving does not mean denying the past. You do not need to hate the old place to move into the new one. You can be grateful and still leave. You can honor it without staying. Some seasons end not because they were bad, but because they fulfilled their purpose. And when you allow yourself to see everything through this light, the pain of closed doors slowly becomes gratitude. Because if they had not closed, you might have stayed too long in a space that no longer nourished your soul. You might have shrunk your dreams to fit someone else's vision. Now you are very close to an important truth. What you called loss was actually release. What left your life completed its assignment, and what is waiting ahead does not require you to compete for it. It has been reserved. You do not need to run. You do not need to announce anything. You only need to keep walking with the faithfulness you have carried from the beginning. Because the land prepared for you does not ask you to prove that you deserve it. It is simply waiting for you to arrive at the right time. And when that moment comes, you will realize that no year was wasted. No door closed by mistake. Everything was quietly working together to lead you to the right place, the right rhythm, the right identity. As you move closer to the land that has been prepared, you begin to realize something you never considered before. You are not stepping into that place alone. There are people, souls, stories existing alongside you, even though you have never met them. They do not know your name, but they have been waiting for what you carry. And you do not know them, but your soul will recognize them when the time comes. This is the moment when the journey stops revolving only around personal growth. It expands, deeper, wider. You begin to sense that your obedience does not affect only your own life. There are invisible threads connecting your journey to the healing, the awakening, and the courage of others. And when you delay, they are delayed as well. Not because you are responsible for their lives, but because God often works by weaving destinies together. You once felt out of place, as if no one truly understood the vision, the emotions, or the depth you carry. In old spaces, you were often the one who had to explain, adjust, soften yourself so others would not feel uncomfortable. You grew used to being seen as too sensitive, too thoughtful, too serious. But that never meant you were wrong. It only meant you were standing in the wrong place. In the new land, what once isolated you will become what connects you. There, you will not be the only one speaking the language of depth. You will not be the only one seeing what others overlook. There are people who have walked journeys very similar to yours, carrying similar scars, and they were placed there ahead of time, not to admire one another, but to carry the weight together. The truth is, you were not called to do this alone. No matter how lonely your refining process has been, your destination is not isolation. There are connections not built on convenience or benefit, but on spiritual resonance. These connections are not loud, not rushed, but enduring. They do not require long introductions, because souls recognize souls. There is a quiet waiting within creation that you can sense, even if you have not named it yet. Romans 8:19 says that creation waits eagerly for the revealing of the children of God. This means your arrival in the right place is not a private matter. It creates a chain reaction. When you stand in the right position, other things begin to fall into place as well. You may have felt that you arrived too early in many places. You spoke truths no one was ready to hear. You carried passion when others were already tired. You saw possibility where others only saw limits. And that caused you to be misunderstood, even pushed aside. But now you begin to understand. You did not arrive at the wrong time. You arrived in the wrong environment. In the place you are about to enter, your presence will not be a disturbance. It will be a spark. It will awaken. What was once seen as too much will become a catalyst. The questions people once avoided will become the beginning of necessary conversations. You will no longer have to carry fire in your hands with nowhere to place it. There, your fire will meet other flames. You will also realize that the people you meet are not random relationships. There are encounters designed to strengthen you. There are people placed in your life to protect, to challenge, to walk with you through new seasons. Not everyone stays forever, but everyone who appears carries a piece of a greater plan. This does not mean everything will become easy. Alignment does not remove challenges, but it changes the nature of the challenge. You no longer have to fight to be recognized. You no longer have to defend your identity every day. The difficulties you face now have clearer purpose, and you no longer face them alone. There is a sense of relief that comes when you stop trying to prove your worth, when you stop needing to be the strongest person in the room, the most knowledgeable in the conversation, the one carrying every burden alone. In the right place, you are allowed to be vulnerable at the right time, allowed to learn, allowed to lean on others without feeling lesser. You will find that these connections do not come through urgency. They come naturally, often in very ordinary moments. A brief conversation, an unexpected empathy, a familiar feeling that needs no explanation. And over time, you realize that these connections were quietly being woven long before you arrived. When you begin to see your journey through this lens, you stop asking why you had to walk through so many seasons of loneliness. You understand that the loneliness was not meant to separate you from people, but to clarify the voice within you, so that when you step into a new community, you do not dissolve, you do not lose yourself, but you arrive with a clear identity. You were not called to blend in, you were called to unite. And unity only happens when each person stands firmly in their own identity. If you had never been refined in loneliness, you would easily trade your truth for a sense of belonging. But because you walked through that season, you will enter new connections with freedom. Now, as you stand at the threshold of the new land, understand this: the people waiting for you do not need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. They need the story you carry, the faithfulness you lived, and the obedience you chose even when no one was watching. You are not coming to save anyone. You are coming to build together. And in that togetherness, both you and they will become stronger, clearer, and closer to purpose. This journey is not finished. It is only expanding. And ahead, as you take one more step forward, you will begin to sense a different kind of pressure, not from within, but from without. A subtle resistance, as if something does not want you to continue. But that too is a sign that you are very close. As you take one more step forward, the pressure begins to change its shape. It is no longer a quiet restlessness within, but collisions appearing on the outside. Small things suddenly become harder. Plans you thought were stable face delays again. Misunderstandings arise without clear reason. You may wonder if you are doing something wrong, but the deeper truth is this. Whenever a spiritual transition is about to take form, resistance will always come with it. Not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. Not because you are off course, but because you are moving closer to a place of greater authority. What you are feeling is not ordinary exhaustion. It is the weight of transformation. It is the tension before a boundary. It is a sign that you are no longer standing still. There are nights when you do not sleep deeply, when dreams become vivid, even chaotic. There are days when your mind is pulled back to the past, to old fears, old words, old failures, not because you are moving backward, but because something is trying to hold you in place. When the future gets close enough, the past often becomes louder than ever. You need to understand this clearly so you do not misread the moment you are in. The opposition you are facing is not a warning to stop. It is evidence that you are moving in the right direction. If you were not carrying anything valuable, there would be no reason to resist you at all. But because you carry fire, carry authority, carry life, resistance shows up. The story of Daniel reflects this season clearly. When he prayed for understanding, the answer was sent from the very first day, but it was delayed in the unseen realm, not because the prayer was weak, but because what was about to be released carried great weight. What you are waiting for is not delayed because you are unready, but because there are layers of resistance that must be broken. The most dangerous thing in this season is not pressure, but misunderstanding. If you read the signs incorrectly, you will think you are being punished, going the wrong way, pushing beyond your limits. But if you listen deeply enough, you will recognize this as the final stage of refinement. What cannot go with you will begin to fall away. Old habits, old reflexes, old ways of thinking that once helped you survive but no longer fit, all will be exposed under pressure. You may feel stripped bare. Weaknesses you thought you had overcome rise again. Fears you believed were buried resurface. But this is not meant to shame you. It is meant to free you. You cannot enter the new land wearing armor that was built for an old battle season. Where you are going, you no longer need to defend yourself the way you once did. There is a preparation taking place that the eye cannot see. Your discernment is being sharpened. Your ability to listen is being refined. You are learning to recognize the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom. And that process is never comfortable, but it is necessary. Look at the story of Hannah. She was pressed from every side, misunderstood, mocked, compressed to the point of pain. But in that pressure, something holy was formed, not by her own strength, but by persistent faithfulness to what had been promised. What you are carrying is like that. It is in its final stage before birth. You do not need to fight the way you used to. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to react to every attack. Your strength in this season is in standing firm, in not running, in not compromising with fear just to ease temporary pressure. There will be whispers trying to convince you that going back would be easier, that staying would be safer, that moving forward is too risky. But remember this, real safety is not found in avoiding change. It is found in being in the right position, and your position is no longer behind you. You are not being crushed. You are being compressed to increase your momentum. There is no transition season without shaking. There is no great door that opens without resistance. But resistance is not there to defeat you. It is there to reveal that you are strong enough to pass through. What matters right now is not how you feel, but what you hold on to. If you cling to fear, pressure will press you down. But if you cling to what was placed within you from the beginning, pressure will push you forward. You do not need to understand the entire battle taking place. You only need to hold your position. And when this stage is complete, you will realize that this shaking accomplished something essential. It clarified which version of you is allowed to move forward. The version formed by fear will stay behind. The version formed by obedience will cross the boundary. You are very close, closer than you think, and that is why the resistance has become more intense. But it will not last forever. No battle is permitted to go beyond its appointed time. When its assignment is complete, the door will open. And beyond that door, there is not chaos, but placement. After the pressure reaches its peak, something very strange happens within you. Not loud, not dramatic, just a deep settling, as if your soul has finally stepped onto solid ground after a long season of drifting. You do not yet see the full picture ahead, but you know one thing for certain. You have crossed a boundary, not by your own strength, but by persistent endurance that refused to give up. This change does not make you a different person. It makes you the right person. You no longer have to strain to stand. You no longer have to tense yourself to catch every sound around you. A new kind of peace appears, not because everything is resolved, but because you are standing in the right place. When position is aligned, the soul naturally finds its rhythm of breathing. The land you are stepping into is unlike anywhere you have been before. It does not promise a life without challenges, but it carries a very clear assurance. You do not need to make yourself smaller to survive here. The air does not suffocate you. It receives you. What was once seen as too much, too deep, too strong, now fits in a strangely perfect way. You begin to realize that all along, the problem was never that you carried too much. The problem was that you carried it into spaces that could not hold it. When a soul that carries fire is placed in a closed room, that fire will either be extinguished or burn the one carrying it. But when fire is placed in the right environment, it warms, it illuminates, and it leads the way. In this land, you no longer have to explain why you believe the way you do, see the way you do, feel the way you do. You no longer need permission to live aligned with your identity. Conversations begin to carry depth naturally. Relationships are no longer built on you having to stretch or shrink, but on mutual respect. You are no longer a stranger in your own story. There is a psalm that describes this state with remarkable clarity. Psalm 92:13 says that those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of our God. Planted, not placed temporarily. Planted, not passing through. When a person is planted in the right place, growth is no longer a struggle. It becomes a natural result. You begin to sense response from the environment around you, not because you have become more important, but because this environment is designed to respond to what you carry. Opportunities do not require you to compete. Support does not come with hidden conditions. Doors open not because you knock harder, but because you have arrived at the right address. What is striking is that you no longer feel the urge to prove anything. The silence within you is no longer the silence of suppression, but the silence of stability. You know who you are, and you know you do not need to convince the whole world of it. When identity is placed correctly, confidence does not need to perform. You also realize that the rest you are experiencing is not a sign of ending, but a sign of belonging. Not the kind of rest that avoids the journey, but the kind that allows you to walk farther without burning out. You are not stopping because you lack motivation, but because you no longer have to fight to be yourself. In this place, the process you walk through is not minimized. The quiet years, the unseen obedience, the difficult choices you made when no one was cheering, all of it becomes foundation. You do not need to retell old stories to gain sympathy. The marks of that process are already present in how you stand, how you speak, how you listen. You also begin to understand that this placement is not only for the present, it opens into a future with greater depth. What you build here is not driven by urgency, but by sustainability. You are no longer living in survival mode. You begin to live with the rhythm of legacy. Your decisions no longer revolve only around whether today is stable, but around what tomorrow will leave behind. This does not mean challenges disappear, but challenges no longer cause you to question your identity. They become part of the expansion, not a sign that you are on the wrong path. You no longer react from fear of losing your place, because you know you are standing on ground that has been prepared. There will be moments when you look back at who you were in previous seasons and feel a very gentle tenderness, not regret, but understanding. You understand why you had to fight the way you did. You understand why you had to stay silent. And you also understand that without those seasons, you would not be able to stand here. This land does not come to make you stand out above others. It comes to bring you into rhythm with yourself. And when you live in the right rhythm, influence spreads naturally, without force, without display, simply through full presence. You are entering a phase where the life within you is no longer restrained. Ideas that were once held back begin to find a way out. Things you once only dared to think in silence begin to take shape, not because you have become more reckless, but because this environment allows you to be honest with what you carry. And as you stand here, breathing this new air, remember one important thing. You did not arrive here by running from your past. You arrived by walking through it. No step was skipped. No wound was forgotten. Everything played a part in bringing you to the right place. This placement is real, and it will continue to unfold layer by layer. But even now, the simple fact that you can stand without shrinking is already proof that you are where you belong. And further ahead, once you have settled into this new rhythm, something else will begin to be revealed. Not about location, but about numbers. A quiet mark carrying a deep message, as if heaven itself is leaving a personal sign for those sensitive enough to recognize it. After you have stood firmly in this new rhythm for a while, small details begin to repeat around you, not loudly, not forcefully, but clearly enough that they cannot be ignored. A number appears more often than usual, on the clock, in a passage you happen to read, in a moment when you are not searching at all, and each time it appears, something familiar stirs within you, as if your soul is being gently tapped to remember something very old. That number is 777, not as superstition, and not to provoke curiosity. In spiritual depth, 777 is a mark of soul completion, of full awakening, of the moment when heaven's will and the human journey meet. 3 sevens, not to emphasize outward perfection, but to confirm that a cycle has closed in the right way, not rushed, not lacking, not unfinished. You begin to look back and clearly see those 3 layers of completion within yourself. The completion of an old season, where you learned obedience without needing to be seen. The completion of refinement, where you were shaped in silence, without spotlight, without applause. And the completion of preparation, where you were placed correctly so what was planted within you could flourish without competition. 777 does not come to say that you are finished. It comes to say that you are ready. ready to move forward without looking back, ready to receive without feeling you must earn more, ready to stand in your identity without defense. When this number appears, it is like a gentle seal placed upon your journey, confirming that alignment has been completed at the deepest level. Perhaps before this, you searched for signs to know whether you were on the right path. You hoped for a clear confirmation, an undeniable proof. But now, confirmation no longer comes from the outside. It comes from inner agreement, from a peace that needs no explanation, from the fact that you no longer have to convince yourself to believe the life you are living. You also realize that 777 does not appear to separate you from others. On the contrary, it reminds you that you are part of a flow larger than yourself, that other journeys are unfolding in parallel, and each person resonates with a different mark. No one is the same. No one needs to be the same. The diversity of marks is heaven's way of saying that no path is copied. And if something vibrates within you when you hear about this number, you do not need to analyze it too deeply. The soul often recognizes before the mind understands. Some people resonate with 777. Others feel strongly connected to a different number. What matters is not which number is more correct, but which one is awakening something real within you. If you are willing, you can leave the number you resonate with most, as a gentle way of saying, I am listening, not to prove anything to anyone, simply to mark the moment for yourself, that here and now you recognized something being confirmed. Along with that mark, a scripture rises as a firm foundation for what is taking place. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act, not according to how you imagine, but according to what best fits what you were created to carry, not through haste, but through perfect timing." You are no longer in the stage of wondering whether you should trust what you are sensing. Trust is no longer a mental effort. It has become a way of living. You walk, you decide, you rearrange the rhythm of your life in a new way, not because you fear missing out, but because you know you are moving within the right current. Your choices begin to reflect this. You become more careful with what you allow into your inner space. You no longer waste energy on arguments that do not lead to life. You learn to say no without long explanations, and you say yes to what nourishes your soul, even when it requires you to change old habits. 777 also carries a very clear reminder. When a cycle is completed, a new responsibility opens, not the responsibility of burden, but the responsibility of stewardship. You are no longer only a receiver. You become a keeper of the new rhythm, a keeper of spiritual sensitivity, a keeper of faithfulness in small things, where no one is watching. You begin to understand that what you are stepping into cannot be sustained by fleeting emotion. It requires discipline, awareness, repeated daily choices, not glamorous, not celebrated, but real. And in those choices, the mark of 777 is etched deeper, not as a symbol, but as a way of life. There may be moments when you forget the meaning of these signs. There may be days when you feel tired and wonder if you imagined everything. But what has been confirmed in the soul does not disappear because of one difficult day. It lies deeper than emotion. It becomes foundation. You do not need to chase signs. When you are in the right position, signs will find you. And when they come, they do not come to make you dependent, but to remind you that you are not walking alone and you are not walking wrongly. This number, this mark, is not the destination. It is a milestone showing that you have crossed the stage of doubting yourself and are entering the stage of living from a confirmed identity. You do not need more evidence. The life you are living will become the evidence. And as you continue to walk with that awareness, you will realize that what needs to be aligned next no longer lies in signs or sensations. It lies in how you act, how you live out what has been entrusted to you, how you carry the spiritual into very ordinary choices. Because true completion does not lie in recognizing the mark. It lies in walking in a way that is worthy of it. When the mark has been confirmed within you, the question is no longer whether to go or not, but how to live. You realize that true transition does not stop at spiritual sensation. It has to touch daily life. The way you wake up each morning, the way you choose, the way you respond, and the way you steward what has been entrusted to you. If identity has shifted but rhythm has not, misalignment will return. You begin to look at very familiar things with new eyes. Time is no longer something to kill just to get through the day, but something to guard. Energy is no longer scattered across every demand, but placed into what nourishes purpose. You no longer say yes easily just to keep peace, and you no longer say no out of fear of being left behind. Each choice slowly carries awareness. There is a very quiet movement that happens when you live as someone who knows they are stepping into legacy, not merely trying to survive. You begin to form new rhythms, not to impress anyone, but to keep your soul aligned. You wake earlier not because anyone forces you to, but because you know the early hours set the tone for the entire journey. You choose intentional silence instead of letting your mind be pulled by too much noise. You also begin to reset boundaries, not with rigidity, but with clarity. There are people who once had access to your fears and doubts who no longer stand there, not because you are arrogant, but because you are guarding what has been placed in your hands. You understand that not everyone is meant to walk with you into the new season, and that truth does not need to be carried by anger or explanation. The way you manage finances, relationships, and personal responsibility also begins to change. You no longer live from a reflex of lack, but from the wisdom of preparation. You do not spend, promise, or commit as if tomorrow is uncertain. Instead, you live as someone who knows that what you build today will become the foundation for someone else's tomorrow. There are still days when you feel tired. There are still moments when doubt visits. But the difference is that you no longer let those emotions take the wheel. They come, they are acknowledged, and they pass. They no longer define your direction. You have learned that emotions are not the enemy, but they are also not a trustworthy guide. You also realize that obedience in this season does not have to look impressive. It is often very ordinary. It lives in doing small things well, even when no one sees, in keeping promises to yourself, in refusing shortcuts even when they seem attractive. You understand that public visibility, if it comes, will be the result of private discipline, not a replacement for it. There is a subtle change in the way you speak. You no longer speak like someone hoping, but like someone walking, not boastful, but grounded, not rushed, but steady. Your words carry less defense, less justification. You no longer need to tell the entire story to be believed. The consistency of your life will speak for you. You also learn to accept that not everyone will understand your choices. Some will see your change and feel uncomfortable. Some will say you are different now, distant now, but you no longer panic at those comments. You know that not all disagreement means you are wrong. Sometimes it is simply proof that you have left an old position. What stands out is that you are no longer pulled into comparing your journey with others. You do not measure progress by speed or appearance. You measure it by faithfulness, by whether you can still hear the inner voice, by whether you can remain soft in heart without losing firmness in direction. You also begin to understand that this journey is not a straight line. There will be days when you walk with strength and days when you need to slow down, but slowing down does not mean going backward. There are pauses that are necessary to realign direction, to check motives, to make sure you are not carrying burdens that no longer belong to you. In all of this, a very clear maturity is taking place. You are no longer searching for validation from every side. You no longer need to know every outcome before you move. You have learned to live with open questions without losing peace. That is the sign of a soul that has been trained long enough in silence. You begin to see more clearly the responsibility that comes with gift, not the responsibility of perfection, but the responsibility of faithfulness. You understand that what has been given to you is not only for your fulfillment, but to serve, to build, to bring life. And the best way to prepare for something greater is to care well for the small thing in front of you. This transition does not make your life more dramatic, but it gives your life more weight. Each day is no longer a meaningless loop. It becomes part of a process, and even if you do not feel strong every day, you know you are walking in the right direction. You no longer chase moments. You build foundations. You no longer live to react. You live to respond. And in those very ordinary choices, the spiritual slowly becomes visible. Now, as you begin to live from this new identity, something else is waiting ahead. Not a new sign, not a new pressure, but a very clear invitation. An invitation to walk, not as a visitor, but as an heir. And it is right there that this journey will touch the moment of final affirmation. At a certain point, you understand that the invitation before you is no longer an invitation to think longer, but an invitation to walk. Not to walk in recklessness, but in conviction. You no longer move like someone searching for a place to stand, but like someone who was given a place long before. A subtle yet decisive shift takes place within you. You stop asking permission to live according to what has been placed in your hands. You no longer look at the land ahead as an opportunity to prove yourself. You see it as a portion of inheritance that has been entrusted to you. And when a person understands they are stepping into inheritance, their walk changes, not rushed, not hesitant, not carrying the weight of needing to earn worthiness. You walk with the calm of someone who knows they are not here by chance, but by long preparation. There are moments when you look back over the entire journey, and for the first time, you no longer ask why you had to endure so much. You clearly see how each stretch shaped you. The hidden seasons taught you how to stand firm without recognition. The seasons of misunderstanding taught you not to trade truth for acceptance. The long waits taught you how to discern the difference between urgency and right timing. Now, as you stand at this threshold, you are no longer tempted to turn back, not because what is behind was bad, but because what is ahead has become clearer. You know that if you try to carry yesterday with you, you will only weigh down your steps. And you also know that what is waiting ahead requires a lighter, freer, and more honest version of who you truly are. A scripture rises like a final period to every remaining hesitation. Deuteronomy 1:8 says, "See, I have given you the land. Go in and take possession of it. Not to compete, not to beg. Go in and receive." This word is not for those still standing outside, but for those who have stood long enough in preparation. You begin to understand that this is not promotion as the world defines it. It is not being seen more, heard more, or recognized more. This is inheritance. It is stepping into what was spoken over you even before you had the language to name it. You were not brought here to shine for yourself, but to steward a portion of responsibility that has been entrusted to you. There is a strange sense of urgency in this invitation. Not haste, but right timing. You sense clearly that if you hesitate, it is not that you will lose what is ahead, but that you will delay what is already ready to move through you. Some moments in life do not repeat in the same way, not because opportunity disappears, but because you are expected to walk when the time is complete. You do not walk in arrogance, but you also do not walk in apology. You do not need to prove that you are not who others once labeled you to be. You do not need to explain why you believe in what you are doing. When a person walks in entrusted authority, words become less necessary. Life itself becomes the confirmation. What you once thought was too big now begins to take concrete shape, not all at once, but piece by piece. And you realize that revelation no longer comes to overwhelm you, but to guide very practical steps. You no longer need to imagine far ahead. The next step is clear enough to act on. You also understand that this journey does not completely remove fear, but fear no longer sits in the driver's seat. It is only a passenger. You can hear it, but you do not let it decide direction. Your decisions are now anchored deeper than emotion, anchored in what has been confirmed through time, through process, through faithfulness. There is a clear change in how you see yourself. You no longer see yourself through what you once lacked. You see yourself through what has been formed. You no longer ask whether you are enough. You ask whether you are living faithfully with what has been entrusted to you. And that question leads you toward maturity, not toward self-condemnation. As you walk in that awareness, you begin to see influence spread naturally, not because you try to influence, but because your steadiness creates safety for others. Some will find healing simply by being near a person who no longer lives in fear. Some will recover their own voice by watching you live truthfully within your identity. You no longer chase success. You step into inheritance. You no longer live reacting to circumstances. You live responding to calling. The years of compression now begin to release a new kind of oil. Quiet, but penetrating, not explosive, but enduring. And if there are moments when you hesitate, if there are days when you feel tired and wonder whether you have gone too far, remember this. You were not brought here to turn back. You were brought here to walk through. No part of this journey was misplaced. No tear was wasted. No obedience was forgotten. You are not only being moved, you have always been formed. Formed to carry glory without distorting it. Formed to walk in authority without noise. Formed to step onto land that has been reserved, and to live there as someone who knows they belong. Now, there is nothing left to delay, not because everything is perfect, but because you are ready. The land is ready, the timing is complete, and your soul has known the way for a very long time.
Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.